Product reviews all day here, folks. It's been a fucking hot minute since I did a review. But now I'm gonna fucking do a review on a vintage piece. This takes you back. This harkens you back to a time when nowadays knives, they have all these belt clips. And they're all like fucking fastened on there and shit. This knife, this is a vintage Shrade Old Timer. USA 430T steel. Look at that gnarly blade. It's got a very gnarly, kind of an alligator croc, kind of nasty look to it. Look at that thing. Look at that. Look at the way that blade. Look at that. It's a pretty nasty blade. But this knife here, nowadays, with Amazon and with Kaiser and Civivi and all these knives, and you have all these fancy clips and all this shit, this is a vintage piece that I picked up on eBay, a Shrade Old Timer, and this harkens back to the time when belt clips were a new thing. When this knife was made, belt clips were new. They didn't exist. You had a shitty knife and it went into a sheath, and that sheath sat on your belt. And then Spyderco and all these companies started coming out, and they started putting these clips on their knives. And Shrade jumped in on the game. This is a vintage piece. It was made sometime in the 1990s, back when a time when liner locks were not even really a thing yet. This knife was made at a time where liner locks were not even a thing. No one knew what a liner lock was. That's why it says press right there. That's why it says press, because you press it and you close it. But back in the 1990s, when this knife was made, liner locks were not a common theme. So you literally had to put press on there because people were so stupid. They're like, oh, fuck, how do I close this knife? Well, yeah, you fucking press it and you close it. Now, I picked up this baby on eBay. I think I paid like just something absolutely ridiculous, like $14 or something I think I paid for this thing. It's a vintage piece. It's a Shrade Old Timer. And this is during the transition when you had the Buck 110, the Shrade LB7, and you had some of these knives and they didn't have clips. This is the time when belt clips became a thing, when one-handed opening with a thumb stud became a thing. This knife is from the 1990s. Now, I remember me and my buddies, we had Gerber Gators. I don't know if you guys remember that knife or not. It was called the Gerber Gator. And that was right at that time when the transition was happening. And the Gerber Gator was a dynamite little knife, and we fucking bored holes in picnic tables with our Gerber Gators. We took this shit. God, I'm fucking drunk and I'm burping. And we bored holes in picnic tables with our Gerber Gators. You see that? That's not an adjustable fucking shit. That's like a rivet, This is even before the time when you could get your Allen wrench and adjust that shit and tighten it up. This was a time when this was all new, liner locks and belt clips. This was all a very new, real, exciting time in knives. And this is one of the first knives that has that belt clip, that has that thumb stud, that has that liner lock. And it tells you press. This knife was made in the 90s. And it's one of the first belt clip, liner lock knives that was ever made. And it's a Shrade. And Look at that. Look at that blade. That fucking thing is just gnarly looking. It just looks nasty. It looks mean. It looks evil. It looks like it's ready to fucking stab, 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 stab. It's got kind of a gator look to it, you know? And this is a vintage piece that I picked up on eBay. It's got that nasty looking blade. It's got that half serrate. It's got that thumb stud to pop it. It's got that very archaic liner lock and that archaic belt clip. Back when a time when belt clips were just plastic and they were part of the handle, you know? This is a vintage piece, and I fucking scored this thing on eBay for like $15, and the fucking thing is like brand new. Look how gnarly that thing looks. Look how nasty and aggressive that blade looks. This is a vintage piece. It's a Shrade, and it's a Shrade before they sold out to China. This is an American-made knife. You can see it right there. USA 430T Shrade Plus, half serrate. Gnarly looking fucking gator blade on there. One of the first belt clip knives. One-handed opening thumb stud. This was all new. This was all, you know, it was all buck 110s and Shrade LB7s. Nobody had belt clips. Nobody had one-handed opening. This is one of the first knives that broke that barrier. And I bought this thing on eBay, and the fucking thing is like mint. And I paid like fucking $15 for it. Go on eBay, fucking score kick-ass old vintage knives. Transition pieces like this. Old Timer. Shrade. One of the first liner lock pieces. One of the first belt clip pieces at a time when belt clips weren't fastened with screws. It was just a plastic piece that was part of the knife. This knife is from the 90s. One of the first belt clips. One of the first liner locks. Shrade was ahead of its time, and it got fucking sold out, and it got forgotten. And that's a shame, because Shrade makes a damn good knife. I always preferred Shrade over Buck. Shrade, Old Timer. I don't even know the model. But look at the way that thing pops. You have this. And you have... Fuck, I cut myself. I cut myself so much when I make these videos. A very nice rubberized handle. One of the first pocket belt clips ever in the history of knives. One of the first thumb stud, one-handed openings. You can't even tighten this. It's just a rivet. That's how cutting edge this is. And I'm bleeding. And I'm always fucking bleeding on these reviews. And I'm drunk as shit. And this is a dynamite little vintage piece. This fucking thing is mint. Old Timer. Rivet. Early belt clip. Early thumb stud. One of the first knives that ever had that thumb stud and that belt clip. And it's a sexual knife. It's sexual. Shrade, Old Timer. When they were trying to stay relevant. When they were trying to get with the times with the thumb stud and the liner lock and the belt clip. And Shrade got left behind, and it's a shame because I love Shrade knives. Shrade, Old Timer, half serrate, keep it tight, keep it right, keep it sexual. Product reviews all day. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Vintage piece. Keep it sexual. Peace.